Well, hello. I am testing this out because I have never done this before, but I am here to teach you how to cast on with a double pair of needles. These are old-fashioned, just plain stick needles, and a big skein of worsted weight yarn. So, just real basic. You're going to take a length of yarn. Okay, this is your yarn. This is about 9 inches worth, give or take. You're going to make a slip knot. You have your loop. This is how I make it. If you have a better way, please do so. I got 2 loops there. Pull it through, and it slides, right? Okay, so then you'll take one of your needles and you will slide your needle in to the loop and draw it close but not tight. You want it to be able to move and wiggle and slide and move that stitch. That's your first stitch. Look, you made a stitch. It's your first stitch to your left hand. Okay, now you have your loop and you have a tail. It's short, it ends. We're going to put that in your left hand, okay, so that it's out of the way. So you still have this loop hanging out, right? He's like, dude, I'm so lonely. So you're going to take your empty needle in your right hand. Okay, right hand, left hand. I am right-handed. This is a right-handed tutorial. So you take your needle in through the front of the stitch to the back. Okay, this is your left needle, this is your right needle. Your right needle is underneath the left needle, and that is front to back. You'll take your working yarn. This is one that's attached to your ball. Take it and wrap it around your right hand needle. Okay, now you see at this point here, I like to use my finger and just guide that tip through. Okay, so look, do that again. In through the front door, around the back, and then use that right-handed needle to draw the tip and the yarn through. Okay, now it's just hanging out, right? So we're going to take that and we're going to slide that onto the left needle. See? And give that yarn a little bit of a tug to make it close but not tight. Okay, so now you have 2 stitches. 2. Fucking dork. All right, so we're gonna do it again, okay? In through the front door, around the back, out through the window, and onto your left needle. This is called the knitted cast on because this is the basic stitch for a knit stitch. In, around, through, and on. Okay, if I'm going too fast, say so, because we're cool like that. In, around, through, and onto your other needle. Don't hesitate to be using your fingers. Okay. You have them. Make them work for their upkeep, right? So we're up to 5. In, around, through, and on. And we're going to keep going until we get about 20, because 20 is a good, nice, wide spot. I do a whole bunch of great things with 20 stitches. And we're only going to be working on the knit stitch today. So, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? In, around, through, and on. For those of a medievally minded bent, as I am myself, this is a completely period cast on. It is mentioned in Richard Rutt's book, The History of Hand Knitting, as one of 3 that he mentions. My friend, the Lady Argent, Jennifer, she says, stab them, strangle them, scoop out their guts, and throw them off a cliff. If that helps you remember, even better. So in, around, through, and on. Darn it. Oh, you recalcitrant little stitch. Okay. Let's see, how many do we have here? Not enough. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14. Okay. I am not used to working with 2 needles anymore. Holy cow. Okay. So, in through the front door, around the back, out through the window, and off jumps Jack. In, around, through, and off. Okay, in, around, through, and off. Where are we now? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 2 more, yay. Okay, in, around, through, and off. Stab them, strangle them, scoop out their guts, and throw them off the cliff. Okay, so you have your 20 stitches, right? Now what the heck are you supposed to do with them? Well, they're awful snazzy sitting there, right? Nice and uniform. Yours may not look like this, because I've been doing this for almost 23 years, right? So there's going to be a difference. But you have your snazzy needle. You're going to keep your stitch supply in your left hand, okay? Got an empty needle here. We got to fill this bad boy up. So we're going to go back just like we did with our cast on, knitted cast on. In, around, in, around, through. Now here's where we're going to be a difference. Instead of putting it on the needle, we're going to let that slide, this left hand loop slide off. And see, the loop that we made stays on the right hand needle. So in, around, through, and off. In through the front door, around the back, out through the window, and off jumps Jack. Stab them, strangle them, scoop out their guts, throw them off cliff. Whatever helps you remember. In, around, through, and off. In, around, through, and off. You'll see me guiding with my finger. That's because needles can be slippery and you don't want your stitches just flopping off. If they flop off, they can be a pain to put back on, and it's very frustrating, especially when you're first starting, right? So in, around, whoops, in, around, through, and off. In through the front door, around the back, out through the window, and off jumps Jack. In, around, through, and off. Stab them, strangle them, scoop out their guts, toss them off a cliff. In, around, through, and off. We got a few more stitches here, so we're just gonna go through those nice and quick. Now 20 stitches seems kind of small, but you know what? It makes a great scrubber. Even in this dreadful acrylic from Walmart, it makes a great scrubber. The only thing is, be careful with it in the kitchen because it will melt if it gets hot. This is how in a similar manner, how I make all of my dishcloths that I scrub my house with. Okay, last stitch, right? Here we go. Here's our tail that we've been holding on to, so it's out of the way. And in, around, through, and off. Woohoo! Dude, check it out. Check it out. You did your first row of knitting. Check that out. Okay, that's what it's going to look like. Or nearly. It may be looser. It may be tighter. You're just starting out. So be gentle with yourself. Now, we're going to turn these bad boys around and put this needle with all the stitches that you just made into your left hand. And we're going to take our empty needle and put it in our right hand. As I said, this is a right hand knitter. I am a right-handed knitter. My sister is left-handed, and I tried to teach her, but we had some difficulty. People who are left-handed knitters, sometimes we can do a mirror image if I'm facing you, like in a Zoom, and you can copy my movements that way. Okay, so we'll right back to where we were, right? First stitch, in through the front door, around the back, whoops, popped off. In, around the back, guiding with my fingertip, out through the window, and off. In, around, through, and off. In, around, through, and off. Now see these bumps here? 2 rows of knit stitch is called a garter stitch. It is a pattern, and it makes really smushy ridges. A sweater knit or a blanket knit in garter stitch, which is knitting every row, is so warm. It's almost like too warm. And I'm cold all the time. In, around, through, and off. Stab them, strangle them, scoop out their guts, toss them off a cliff. Right? In, around, through, and off. Nice and easy. Dude, this is yoga for your mind. Especially right now, we all need a little bit of something to keep our hands and our eyes busy. Let me tell you, everybody in my family is getting knitted stuff for Christmas. Okay, nice and easy. We're coming to our end here, nice and slow. And you just keep going until you get to the end. Okay, and you're going to switch hands again. Empty needle goes in your right hand. Full needle goes in your left. Check out that smushiness. How cool is that? This is like, you make teddy bears and stuff out of your garter stitch because it's so smushy. You just want to squeeze it. made in cotton especially. It makes a great dishcloth. You can make a whole bunch of 20 stitch squares, because look how far across my hands are, about 6.5, 7 inches long. Okay, you make a whole bunch of these squares that are equidistant from one another, equal on all sides, right? You make a nice, you sew them all together, you make a blanket. You start with this, you keep going to about, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet, you got a scarf. Your Christmas is taken care of. And it makes a bigger difference because you got so many people on your list, and it's like a physical hug that you can give somebody that they can hold on to for later, right? So in, around, through, and off. Just nice and meditative. Don't be frustrated. That when I was first learning this, dude, I tossed this out the window. We lived in a raised ranch up in New York. I tossed it off the deck, went out the window. I tossed one set out of the car once. I was like, F this, I'm done. In, around, whoops. If that comes off and it's sitting there, it's hanging out, right? It's not worked. So you can either slide that back onto your left needle, okay, or put your needle tip in there and just wrap it and just tug that loop right on over there. Okay, think of like Bob Ross. Oh, that's not a mistake. That's a design element. That little home fry is supposed to be there, right? Look at that. You're knitting. How cool are you? Nice and easy. Pull out a little bit more yarn because some of these skeins from the stores are really kind of tightly wound. You can use any needles that you normally like or that you think you might like. I have a great deal of these 14-inch straight needles that I beg people to take with them when I teach them how to knit. Here, take the yarn that I'm giving you, take the needles, because they're awesome. Take them out of my house. Okay, there's another ridge done. 2 ridges, ridge and ridge and ridge. Okay, so we'll come back. Full needle in your left hand, empty needle in your right. In through the front door, around the back, out through the window, and off jumps Jack. In, around, through, and off. In, around, through, and off. You can tension your yarn however you feel works best for you. And you'll notice that I loop it over my pinky and then under my center 2 fingers and over my index finger. This works best for me. A friend of mine holds it in her fist and wraps it and pulls it like this. In, around, through, and off. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Are there any questions so far? I can totally see my screen, so if you do have a question, don't hesitate to say so. In, around, through, and off. As I said before, this is absolutely knitting to the 1400s at the very latest, I would think. The 2 needle knitting it's harder to document into a later period. Originally, from my understanding, is the first knitting needles had little hooks on the ends in Egypt. Okay, we're back to the end of our row. And we'll flip them around. Here we go. Look at that. You're knitting. How awesome are you? How awesome are you? Okay, nice and smushy. It'll make you, do I prefer wooden, plastic, or aluminum needles? Well, I'm actually a professional hand knitter. I knit for designers, for books and magazines, right? So these are the needles that I am currently in love with. These are called ChiaoGoo. They are interchangeable. You'll see here, there's a seam. This part screws off. This part is interchangeable. So I can put any needle on this cord and make one big circle or work back and forth, just like I did with these needles here. But I know most people start out with stick needles, pretty standard, generally a 14-inch length. So that's what I wanted to start here with. These are aluminum with fiber optic cords. Pretty snazzy. These run between 75 and 125. I've seen them for more than that, but I wouldn't pay more than that. Knitpicks.com has aluminum, metal, fiberglass, right? Aluminum, fiberglass, and wood interchangeables in a similar setup that I think they're under $75. They're like between $50 and $75. I don't have an exact number right here. But I like aluminum because they're fast. So the faster I get done, the faster I get paid, right? And what is the cord for? The cord holds your stitches just like the body of your needle, but the cord holds a lot more. And I don't know if I can, let's see, the cord you can actually take and put it into a circle. So you can work in completely seamless for the body of a sweater. You can do the front, back, and sides all at one time and in the round, rather than making a whole bunch of pieces and sewing them together. Now there are like a lot of cast-ons. I think the lady Helene Ruche, she counted over 200 methods to cast on, which that boggles my mind. I cannot imagine wrapping my head around that. Conventionally, there are about 56. I use either the knitted cast-on that I started this video with, or a long tail, or a cable cast-on, which a cable cast-on looks just like what I did, only instead of going into the stitch, you go between the two. So pretty snazzy. Now, as you complete this, you're going to get to a point where you're like, either your brain is drained, or you are just so done with this crap and you're done. No more. So myself, what I do, because I don't buy things that I don't absolutely need, they make caps that look like little, almost like witches' caps, right? Or the cones, right? Orange cones. And they'll fit on the end and hold your stitches on. I don't do that. I slide my knitting on a single pointed long needle like this. I slide my knitting to the end and I stab it into my yarn and I put it in a bag. Usually in a Ziploc bag, a large, really large Ziploc bag, either a gallon size, or I know the Dollar Tree over here by me has these gigantic gigantic Ziploc bags. They're like 2 or 3 gallons, I think. and I'll use those because I am notorious for carrying my coffee, especially if I'm at a medieval reenactment event, carrying my coffee in my schnazzy sheep mug and spilling it inside my bag. So keep going until you're at least fully square, and come back tomorrow and we'll talk about the purl stitch. Okay? I hope that... Oh, look at that crazy. Yay. Thank you.